Welcome back to the Snakes here on OOTP 23, and we are starting off with going over how the rest of the league did, just doing the quick roundup of the standings and taking a look at the league leaders and whatnot, and then seeing the playoffs and all that good stuff. And then we will be diving into the offseason here. The first things first, in the American League East, you got the Yankees and the Red Sox, top of the division. Shocker there. Blue Jays. Actually, I'm pretty sure it is a shocker because the Yankees, I'm pretty sure, if we look at their history here, yes, they were bad in 2023. They weren't great in 2024, and now they're back to being good here. I'm interested to see what they've done to. They're playing as Walt Peraza at first base. Teams love doing that in this game. They love being like, hey, we have like a shortstop prospect or something, and let's put him at first base. Teams do that all the time in OTP. They always have. I mean, I guess it makes sense because, you move guys who aren't good anywhere else to first base. But, I mean, they do it with weird guys like Peraza. But, okay, so they have Devers. That makes sense why why they'd be good all of a sudden again. Yeah, that makes sense. Even Duggar hit 16 home runs for them as their center fielder. That is interesting. He was a positive ZR player as well. Anthony Volpe is up for them in the big leagues right now, 4.9 WAR, even as a just league average hitter. Yeah, very, very good defender at shortstop. Also just a captain personality class. They've got Max Kepler hitting 28 home runs, having his best season. With the Yankees as a lefty bat, as you would expect a lefty who hits home runs to do when he goes to the Yankees. They also have Mike Clevenger, who of course they made cut his hair, and Nicky Pivetta. Jose Alvarado's in their bullpen. Kenley Jansen, who's not good, but is in their bullpen. They got Joey Lucchesi. That's too many Italians on this team for my liking. But yeah, it looks like their pitching is really just these three guys here, Montgomery, Clevenger, and Alvarado, and then just a bunch of kind of meh. Well, it really looks like their hitting is what's carried them. Devers, Torres, Kepler, just tearing the world up here with 128, 134, and 145 WRC pluses, respectively. They got Tommy White. They got Tommy Tanks. Wow, he was he was their third round pick, third overall pick the year that they stunk. Wow, he jumped from A-ball and then was in the big leagues this year, and he wasn't even good in A-ball. He was like a league average hitter in A-ball, and they put him in the bigs this season. But back to the standings here. Orioles, 75 wins. Rays at the bottom of the division. Sad to see. Guardians, 101 wins. That is interesting. Any names that stand out here? 34 home runs from Jose Ramirez. 24 from Gabriel Arias. Wow, they have Yandy Diaz back in Cleveland as well. He's their first baseman. Aside from that, though, not really too many names that stand out here. Why is it showing the bats for the pitching? There we go. Yeah, a lot of good pitchers in the Cleveland Guardians pitching staff. Shocker. Cleveland has good pitchers. They got Lance McCullers in their bullpen. Or I guess he was a starter. Yeah, he was a starter. He's just not in the postseason bullpen. But I mean, a lot of good pitchers here. Two guys with 4 WARs. Joey Cantillo from Hawaii. Great changeup on the lefty. And then also Spencer Arrighetti. Insanely good curveball from him. Shocker, once again, that they have good pitching. While on the hitting side of things, it's Ramirez, Arias, Stephen Kwan was very good, only striking at 12% of the time. And then Yandy Diaz, Andres Jimenez was above league average. Everybody else was not too hot for them, but really good pitching, and then a couple really good hitters. I mean, these teams, like, we're capable of putting up numbers like this, but we never do as the D-backs. All right, we're not going to go through every single team here, just the ones that seem interesting. So Tigers also make the playoffs. Royals win. They're above 500, but they miss out. Rangers win the AL West with 83 wins. The mediocre AL West division. Because I don't know what I'm saying here. NL East, you get the Mets winning 100 games. Plus 211 run differential. That is insane. Having a plus 120 and only winning 93 games behind the Mets is also pretty insane. But really good NL East division, and the Phillies just get screwed because they're in this division. The Cubs won 102 games. Pirates with a plus 134 run differential. That is insane. Dodgers, Padres, both extremely good teams. Us down here. On the hitting side of things, I'm seeing a name I recognize, Ellie De La Cruz, leading Major League Baseball in home runs. That's my guy. 50 home runs right there, baby. Looks like Joey Gallo did not hit 70 this season. Highest OPS belongs to Juan Soto, who it looks like they did indeed re-sign. Yeah, he has an opt-out after 2026, but they did indeed sign him. Highest WAR belongs to Fernando Tatis Jr. Second most hits in Major League Baseball belongs to Ketel Marte, even with a subpar season. Definitely not his best season. Still, one hit away from being tied with Trey Turner for most hits in Major League Baseball. 51 doubles for Ke'Bryan Hayes. That is insane. C.J. Abrams leads the league in stolen bases, but I'm seeing Enrique Bradfield Jr. here from Vandy, who I know is extremely fast, is up in the big leagues here, just swiping a ton of bags. 44 last year, 46 this season, and a 90% success rate. Pretty insane. On the pitching side of things, the ERA leader was Joey Cantillo of the Guardians. The highest WAR was Cesar Perdomo, 23-year-old on the White Sox. Nasty stuff. Oh my goodness. I'm assuming this guy's real. Maybe not. Maybe he was. Released by San Francisco in April of 2022. Maybe, I don't know. It doesn't say how he got into the sim, but I don't know if he's real or not, but he's pretty insane. He struck out 305 hitters. He had a 66 FIP minus, a 14K per 9 in 33 starts. What? There is Pete Kerr Armstrong with the 22 zone rating once again, just absolutely better than everybody else. There's Nick Ahmed in the top 6. And the highest framing runs ends up going to Sean Murphy, just absolutely head and shoulders above everybody else. Muto Melendez, who's very good, and who has, he had one good season in 2023 where he had a 7 WAR, and then he's immediately back down to being what you would expect MJ Melendez to be here in 2024 and 2025. Honestly, kind of wild. He's been overperforming his catcher ability. Only 60 catcher ability, and he's been that high on the framing runs, like year in and year out. Pretty insane stuff. So the 2025 season is officially over now. Another not good score for us with the Snakes. And if we take a look at the playoff trade, the Boston Red Sox win the World Series in 7 games over the Dodgers. They swept that Guardians team, even with their pitching. Pretty easily beat the Yankees as well, and then take the Dodgers in 7, who pretty easily made their way through the Pirates did give them a fight in the LCS, but not so much the Mets in the LDS. But the Red Sox are World Series champs here in 2025. It looks like they've swapped stars with the Yankees. So Judge is now a Boston Red Sox, while Rafi Devers is a New York Yankee. Tristan Cassis is up in the big leagues for them. Looks like he was absolutely absurd at only 38 plate appearances. I guess he was hurt. Yes, he was out for 5 months. Came back, was absurd in the time that he did play, and I'm assuming was a pretty big part of their postseason. That means that Zach Gallen has now won the World Series here. Former D-back was a member of their staff. He was actually quite good for them, too, in 66 innings, 11 starts in the second half. But towards the end of the year. They were also using Brawny Munoz. Interesting. Wait a minute, what? Are you serious? This guy, he was just like a nobody for me in Double-A. Barely pitched. They call him up to the big leagues, wasn't any good, and now all of a sudden my scout thinks this guy has elite stuff. Also, apparently they have Eddie Rodriguez back in Boston, and they have him signed through 2029. He is a World Series champion. Wow, he was really good in Detroit. Put up a really good year in 2023 at Detroit. Highest WAR, most innings in the baseball, and then goes back to Boston, and he's been meh, but he did win a World Series. Another one, that is. Their pitching, that's a lot of good pitching. 4 WAR from Houck, 3 from Castillo and Rodriguez, Gallen, Howard, Bradish, Savino, Tamarez, all give them 1+ WAR. Pretty insane pitching from the Red Sox. While on the hitting side of things, Nick York, I mean, Jesus. Only 86 games, but absurd 162 WRC plus, 15 home runs, 30 doubles in 86 games. That is ridiculous. Aaron Judge, just absolutely absurd, like you would expect. Isbell and Refsnyder gave them good appearances off the bench. Verdugo was solid. Trevor Story was good. The Candyman was good. Hermosillo was league average with a 2 WAR. Carson Kelly even put up a 3 WAR for them. Are you kidding me? I mean, there you have it. The most runs scored in baseball, and only the seventh least runs allowed. But best offense in baseball, I guess, wins the World Series. Now it's time to assess our team right now. First thing I'm seeing is that Aroldis Chapman did not meet the statistical requirement for his vesting option as we expected, because he ended up getting even less time with us than we thought he was going to. Only 5 games, 3 innings. And he was, didn't get the 40 relief games finished that he needed. So he is a free agent. Our owner goals was we had a disappointing record. Our owner's not happy with that. Not that this matters too much. That's an error. Definitely don't need to. That's definitely not supposed to be there. Didn't upgrade in center field because we got past Shade last season and he wanted us to get like an all-star or something. So next year's goal is to increase attendance, bring more of your drafted players to your team. I can do that, absolutely. I would like to make the playoffs. That would be good. And upgrade at catcher, which could be something we do, or we could just run back what we have. It depends on how I'm feeling and what's out there and what we could possibly try to get. Also, I opted to not bring back our hitting coach because we were so bad at hitting that I just figured we'd fire him. So he's no longer our hitting coach, or not bring him back rather. Take a look at the top prospect list here. We actually have 2 players on this. Nelson Pineda, who was in rookie ball this year in Dominican League, played 36 games. 1% walk percentage is not great, but I mean only 36 games as an 18-year-old, and he just turned 18, so he was 17 in those games really. But he is the number 8 prospect in baseball, while Sterling Ewell, whatever this guy's name is, the righty who we picked up in the international free agent signing from Australia, 16-year-old in the international complex currently, but definitely somebody who could be an ace if he stays healthy. And if we take a look at the top prospects on the hitting side, so we have Pineda, who's number 8, and that's our only hitter on the list apparently. While on the pitching side of things, it is Jewell, who's number 9, and then Hansel Rincon, who is in Double-A for us right now as a looks like he was a bullpen and starter piece for us in Double-A this season. Was pretty solid. Nothing too crazy, but my scat is pretty high on him. Definitely probably more of a bullpen guy. I mean, I could get away with 35 stamina in the rotation if he turns out to be a decent starter, or my scout thinks he could be a starter. But if we take a look here at his splits, definitely much better as a reliever, but definitely not bad as a starter either. And as far as these guys up for arbitration go, definitely making some decisions this year. Like Madrigal, I doubt we bring back Madrigal. Wasn't very good in the majors. Barely even played in the minors because the minor league managers didn't really like him. Rojas is a guy we are definitely going to be trying to trade here this offseason, open up that spot for somebody else. Pache we'll definitely bring back. He'll probably end up being our everyday center fielder if I had to guess. Perdomo, maybe he comes back as depth. Maybe I try to trade him for something. Nathaniel Lowe is a guy I'm definitely going to be trying to trade at some point. Buddy Kennedy could be a trade option as well. We have too many first basemen in our organization right now, so we might as well try to unload those guys, even if it's just for getting like another quad A depth guy who can be a depth guy at a position that we need somebody in right now. Marshawn is a guy as well who hasn't really performed for us. Has been good in triple. He was okay, I should say, in AAA when he went down there this season. But I mean, he has not been anything close to what we would have hoped he'd been in the major leagues. I mean, you would think these ratings would be able to produce at least a decent bat. So far, that has not been the case. But even if he comes back as just the third catcher in our organization, I'm totally fine with that. Trevor Stephan will probably be getting be brought back. Maybe we try to swing a deal for him. It depends. We're definitely going to be trying to trade more this offseason and try to shore up some pieces, trade pieces, because he is a reliever at the end of the day, and we can easily replace relievers. We can easily get a guy who's going to put up numbers like this in the bullpen for us. Christopher Sanchez, I mean, he's barely getting paid at all. Another reliever guy. He's so valuable that I'd probably look to keep him just because he's been such a good stopper for us and he fits our ground ball strategy we're trying to build here. Fleming, maybe we bring him back, maybe not. He wasn't very good even in AAA this year, so we might just try to get rid of him or maybe bring him back as depth. Who knows? Cavalli, I mean, he's just sad. He does fit the ground ball though, so there's no harm in bringing him back at how cheap he wants. Same with Adone, but I mean, we might also try to trade Adone or maybe just bring him back, see what we can do. Chatwood is expiring. I mean, he fits into the extreme ground ball guys that I like, but probably not going to bring him back. Let's see what he wants here. Yeah, he's not even interested in discussing an extension, so we're definitely not bringing him back. Same with Chapman. We're definitely not extending him. Yeah, he's going to want a ton. We don't have enough money to extend him. That's before we make any trades to open up money, though. Yeah, so like right now we only have $9 million for extensions, no money for free agents, but this is before all these guys come off the books. This is before we get Rojas's deal off the books on a trade. This is before Chapman comes off the books, before Severino comes off the books, before even Sampson comes off the books, Chatwood, any of the guys that we decide to DFA and take off our 40-man. That's all going to open up a decent amount of cash here for us in the offseason. All right, so here's the first trade we are going to be making. Nathaniel Lowe is going to go to the New York Yankees. In return, we are going to get 2 relievers here that could replace relievers that we might flip and get these guys who have much more service time. So like Barrett Lasky, 50 grade reliever, has some good stuff, good movement. Could even be a starter with these ratings. Current role could be a starter. He expects to be a starter. He's going to be 29, so he's a bit older. Definitely took a bit long to get to the major leagues here. But he has a guy who has performed well throughout the system for the Yankees, even has done well in their bullpen for them. Not so much this past season, split between the rotation and the bullpen, but historically been a pretty solid pitcher for them. So we are going to acquire him. And then also Luke Stevens. Oh, also Lasky. Oh, he's a neutral, but Luke Stevens is the other guy we're going to be getting, a 25-year-old sidearm ground baller. Like I said, I love ground ballers. He's a ground baller. He's another guy who's been very solid, although at a level that he's very much too old for. He is a guy who is definitely going to be a depth reliever for us, and just a guy who we can have on our team here who could be a pretty decent arm to have. Another thing that I'm thinking we might do at some point this offseason is try to unload Jeremiah Jackson. My scat still thinks he has the potential to be good. So does OSA. So he's going to have quite a bit of trade value, only 25 years old. And I feel like we should really capitalize on the fact that he still has this trade value. I don't really think he's going to turn out to be anything good. So I'm just going to try to dump him and get something else for us that we can actually use that's not just like a second baseman DH type guy. All right, so as far as our hitting coach vacancy right now, we are offering Max Forsythe here, 61-year-old hitting coach. He's got outstanding mechanics, excellent teach hitting, good aging, only decent development, patience focus I like. But the main thing is that he has really good relationships with a lot of our good hitters that we're trying to influence here. All of his bad relationships are with pitchers, so I don't really care about that. But with his hitters, I mean, he's got a great relationship with Thomas, Carroll, Tamar, Davison de los Santos, Ketel Marte is good, Lawler's good, even Pache is good. I mean, we will definitely take that and I'm not really sure what the relationships mean, to be quite honest, with the hitting coach, but I mean, maybe he will be able to help these guys out this season. I believe that I have found the trade that we're going to pull the trigger on with Jeremiah Jackson here. Obviously, Jackson is a guy that my scout likes very much. So does OSA, very much so, but he just hasn't hit for us in the big leagues. He was around less than league average in 2024 in 500 ABs, 300 ABs last year. He was a DH second baseman, and he just didn't do anything. He was pitiful. So he went down to AAA, hit. My scout still thinks he's going to be good, but I mean, I'm losing faith here. So even though he is a guy who can play multiple different positions at least decently well, not really a guy who I'm interested in anymore. Almost 26. He's got a few years of service time, so I figured why not try to cash in on his potential while we have the ability to do that before, he has another bad season and everybody realizes, hey, this guy might suck, actually. So we're going to cash in on his potential. We're also tasking Jesus Jimenez to get this deal to work. He's just some random extreme fly ball pitcher we have in A-ball. He's been there for 3 years. He's been awful. I don't know why they like this guy, but they like him. And we are going to be able to get the main two pieces are here. Darius Perry is a catcher with some good home run eye and gap power. Obviously, below average contact and avoid K, but I mean, he's got some solid pop and eye to him. 55 catcher ability is good enough. He was their first round pick in 2024. Obviously, they have Adley Rutschman. They do not need this guy. And he is somebody who was very good in Norwich last season. And he just kind of came out of nowhere, honestly. He wasn't that, well, not nowhere, he was a first-round pick, compensation round at least, but just kind of struggled, and then last year figured out in Double-A, and came up to the big leagues, was not that great, but only 88 plate appearances. He's going to come up, be our catcher here, and if he turns out to be what OSA, which even likes him even more, or my head scout actually thinks he is, he could be a very solid catcher for us. And we're also going to tack on this Josue Cruz guy. He is a real player, signed as an international free agent with the Orioles in 2017. It doesn't really seem like he was really that great of a prospect until, I guess, recently, or maybe he has been, but he's, taken a while here. He's almost 25, but he only has less than 200 days of service time here. And I mean, he has some serious power here. Obviously, going to be a DH type player for us, but I mean, still, just an absolute monster when it comes to the plate. I don't think, maybe, the 20 range. Probably not a first baseman, definitely just a DH, but I mean, I'm willing to put him in the DH spot and see if this bat clicks and we get ourselves an actual 2 good bats from this in Perry and Cruz. And then we also are attaching on DL Hall, who's kind of the guy they've, I guess, given up on. He's been up and down between Norwich and, or I guess, some rehab assignments. But, I mean, they had him in the bullpen mainly, and he just really hasn't been great for them in the bullpen. He's been like around league average the past 2 seasons, striking out a lot of guys, walking, and also giving up a decent amount of home runs. But, I love these guys that are extreme ground ball guys. He is extreme ground ball, power pitcher, has the ability to start. Do we start him? Possibly. We'll have to see. But definitely a solid arm to add to our organization. And he's pretty cheap for this upcoming season. And then the other guy we added on is this Dessen guy, Deason, 6'3", corner outfielder, 23 years old. He has been very good all throughout the minor leagues, was in Bowie last year, and was good. He was good in high A, he was good in double A, he's been good in A, he's been good everywhere. So I figured he's probably going to be in triple A for us this season. We could use some more good backup outfielders because we've let a lot of them walk the past couple seasons who we just have like kind of sitting in AAA that don't really have any role for us. So we could definitely use a guy to come in and be a potential replacement for us if we need somebody, or be just, who knows, maybe he tears things up, maybe he ends up as a starter for us, but definitely a good player to have in the organization. So that is what we are going with here. Perry, Cruz, Hall, and Dessen come to the D-backs, and the Orioles get Jeremiah Jackson and this pitcher they like for whatever reason. We're going to be doing a swap of some backup pieces. They're basically just taking each other's spots on the 40-man roster here. Buddy Kennedy is going to go to the Oakland Athletics. Buddy Kennedy, first baseman, has some pop to his game. Can't really play anywhere else. I guess he can play third, but not really at a high level. He's when he's at his best, he's like an around league average hitter. Going to be able to run into a few home runs, but I feel like we have many guys in our system at first base who can put up numbers like he has. And obviously, we have De Los Santos at first base, who is, at least for now, our starting first baseman. So Kennedy doesn't really have a spot here. He's the older guy out of between guys like Vukovic and Ivan Melendez, who we also have in AAA, and guys like that. So we just kind of have a logjam of first baseman. So Buddy Kennedy is going to get traded to Oakland in return for this 31-year-old Cuban shortstop who 60 grade range, at least according to my scout and OSA. But he does perform better than he has 60 grade range. You can see here he actually had quite a decent hitting season in AAA last year. I believe their AAA team is in the PCL, but I mean, very solid year, 2 WAR, basically league average hitter. With those ratings, I mean, you'll take that any day of the week, even with the high BABIP. Comes up with only 21 plate appearances in the big leagues, but if you look at his fielding, positive ZR player. We could absolutely use a defense for a shortstop. Is he going to be our starting shortstop this season? Maybe. But at the very worst, he's, a guy to have to put in a shortstop if somebody else gets hurt. I would ideally like to get a better guy to be our starter, but if he ends up being our starter, I'm not totally hating that deal. So boom, we are going to go ahead and pull the trigger on this. Buddy Kennedy and Alfredo Rodriguez have been swapped. Another reason that I'm not too concerned about that guy if he doesn't pan out is we have this guy who has similar ratings, a decent avoid K, 75 grade range. He has been an indie ball here, as you can see. Obviously not hitting an indie ball. He did have some home runs in 2025 with one of the indie ball teams he played with. Apparently played with 2 different ones. But I mean, I'm not reading into anything offensively with this guy. Still very young, 21 years old. My scout thinks he's at least going to be able to hit in like a light shortstop, sort of like 1990s sort of way, like maybe a Ray Ordonez type of guy. But I mean, if he comes in here and plays a shortstop like this, I will absolutely be happy to have this guy as our long-term shortstop. I mean, that's all I'm looking for here, is a guy who can play an elite shortstop. I don't care about his bat necessarily. Just don't be, like a 0 WRC player. At least be a positive WAR player with a glove like this. That's all I'm asking for. And this guy definitely has the capability to do that. He's going to start for us in AA. Maybe eventually he makes his way to the big leagues at some point. And then we also have this fella, Brian Encarnacion, who spent his year in AA. Did the same thing with him last offseason. We got him from Indie Ball. Wasn't very good in Indie Ball, but came here and immediately put up a 2 WAR in only 200 plate appearances. He also got hurt, unfortunately. That's not what I meant to click on. Tore his ACL, so that's not great. His fielding rating could go down. It's down to 65. I believe it actually already has gone down because it was in like the 70s, I believe. But still, very solid across the board here at shortstop. He's also a young option to possibly play shortstop in the big leagues for us at some point, either this season or next season, or who knows. Even if he ends up just being depth or a guy to help out our minor leagues, he's still a valuable guy to have in the organization. So if that Rodriguez guy we picked up from the A's doesn't pan out, we have this guy and then also Mendez, who we have. And if we take a look at his fielding stats, extremely, extremely good shortstop in AA Amarillo last year. We are also going to be making another trade with the trade man himself, AJ Preller, sending Geraldo Perdomo to San Diego. He is ideally he ends up as a shortstop, but he is not good enough to play shortstop. He's tried playing shortstop. He's bad at every level at shortstop. He's just not a shortstop. So he doesn't really have any value. His bat's not good enough to, keep around as a shortstop. He's got a third base glove or a second base glove, but he hits like a shortstop. So Perdomo going to San Diego, and they are willing to part with Mackenzie Gore here, who is going to be making 2.8 this year, which is fine. I'm totally fine with that. Lefty guy, extremely popular, going to help with ticket sales because that's something I'm trying to improve this season. Could possibly be a starter, could be a reliever for us, definitely has the stamina to be a starter. We'll have to see how things shake out, but at the very least, a solid lefty arm to have as a member of our staff. And then we're also attaching Jagger Haynes here, 23-year-old lefty, who they took in the 2020 draft out of high school in the 5th round. It looks like he missed 2024. He was hurt. 2024, he was also, or he got hurt at the end of the season, but he did have a great season in 2024 where he was the CLA outstanding pitcher. And then in 2025, he just kind of, I guess, wasn't. Well, he was probably rehabbing. That's what it was. He was rehabbing, so he only played 7 games in 2025. But, decent guy to have in the system. He is eligible for the Rule 5 draft, but I doubt anybody takes this guy, so he's just going to stick around in our system. Maybe he makes it to the big leagues, maybe he doesn't, but definitely a guy who will be in our system. Mackenzie Gore and Jagger Haynes, 2 lefties, to the D-backs in return for Geraldo Perdomo, who goes to the Padres. And boom, just like I said, Mackenzie Gore, overall fan interest increases noticeably. That's exactly what I wanted to see. So I have been going hard at work here trying to find any sort of trade for Josh Rojas. I've done everything from retain his value, even though his arbitration deal for the coming season. I've done everything to attach a guy with a 55 potential who I don't think is really going to be any good to try to boost the value to it. I mean, they are just not, nobody is interested in Josh Rojas. Probably because even though he did put up a positive WAR last season, he is a lefty bat who played only against right-handed pitching. As you would think he would be better against right-handed pitching, and he decided to put up a 70 WRC plus and over 400 ABs, almost 450 ABs. I mean, who wants a lefty bat who can't hit against righties? Has some positional versatility, as you can see, play a decent amount of different positions at a decent level. I mean, we could just keep him on as like a bench piece, but I mean, I'd rather have other guys on the bench. Like Tamar Johnson will be second, Lawler will be third. Somebody like Alfredo Rodriguez could be our shortstop. Darius Perry is going to be our catcher. I'm also possibly thinking of trying to trade Marchand, but maybe not. He might stick around. Because right now we have 4 catchers in the Major League roster, and I think I'm fine with that because right now we don't really have any catchers in AAA who can come up aside from these guys. And I believe Hernandez, he has option years, and he'll be able to be optioned again next season. He just hit the max for 1 season this year. That's why we were able to keep him on the big league team, despite being a backup with a high catcher ability. Like I said, backup infielders, we've got a guy like Kasevich, who I would absolutely be interested in having as a backup infielder for us, at least one of them if we go with 2. Somebody like McLean. McLean is also very interesting, especially with the leader ability. That's definitely something I'm interested in. I'd rather have, honestly, McLean and Kasevich, or McLean and Young, or Kasevich and Young, or some combination of those guys than I would Rojas. So it just, nobody's interested in it at all. Nobody wants this guy whatsoever. And man, you would think he has some sort of value, but I mean, should I just not offer him arbitration and just let him walk? Because he's, somebody who's going to get paid like $9 million this upcoming season, and it's not like we can just give $9 million to somebody who's completely useless, but we can't get anything for him. So I'm thinking I might just not give him his arbitration and just let him walk into free agency. I mean, essentially the only types of trades we can do is just taking on some awful contract. Those are the only deals that people want to do. I mean, I've tried playing around with some of these teams. I mean, they just don't want anything. The only thing that would be even halfway interesting would be Max Muncy, because he's got really good power. He's very old though, and I mean, he would play first base for us. So I mean, like, he could play first base for us, but I mean, I'd rather probably just have De Los Santos play first, because, paying a guy 12, almost 13 million to be, a league average bat, not really something I'm interested in. I feel like De Los Santos can easily put up numbers like this. Yeah, that's just what we're going to do. We're just not going to give Josh Rojas his arbitration. I've even gone and tried to just get like a reliever from somebody, or even just like a minor league reliever, and they're not even interested in giving that. They're not even interested in taking Josh Rojas for like a minor league reliever. I mean, it's just we're not going to get any value for him, whatever. So Rojas not on the team this year. I just don't think he's worth it. We have guys who I'd rather play. Third base this year is going to be Jordan Lawler. Feel like he could put up fine numbers at third base. Ideally, he puts up better numbers than this, but he's going to be our third baseman this season. Also, Nick Madrigal has a similar market. He is a guy we picked up last season on a, we just picked him up on like a really cheap signing because nobody was interested in him. We're not interested in him either. You know, he's just a random guy to have, essentially, very good leader. You would think he would be a decent contact bat, but that's not really the case. Obviously, he did have a 300 WRC plus in AAA, but that's because he had 11 games with 12 plate appearances. So Nick Madrigal is also just going to be not getting a offer for an arbitration, and him and Rojas are just going to be walking into free agency. But all the rest of these guys we are bringing back: Adone, Fleming, Stefan, Cavalli, Marchand, and Pache. Fleming, you know, depth guy to have. And the rest of these guys are hopefully going to be at least key parts of our team. Alrighty, so we're doing the thing here where we check in with who won the awards. The National League's MVP was Fernando Tatis this year. Obviously, we did not have any players who got MVP votes. The American League MVP was Shohei Ohtani, who apparently is on the Detroit Tigers now, as a four-war pitcher or four-war hitter and a almost four-war pitcher. Pretty insane stuff for Detroit Tiger Shohei Ohtani. Well, on the pitching side of things, the top pitcher in the National League was Max Chapman of the Pittsburgh Pirates, and the Pirates actually have a couple really good pitchers here that I've noticed. I tried prying this guy away from them, who they picked up from the Twins, and he was just like kind of like a mediocre pitcher with the Twins. I guess he had a solid year in the bullpen in 2023, but he comes here and he was just absolutely lights out between the bullpen and the rotation. Exactly the type of pitcher that I like to have. High movement, 4 good pitches, good enough stuff, extreme ground ball, throws hard. He's got the power pitcher too. I mean, he is perfect, but I mean, they basically want like Corbin Carroll for him, so we're not going to be able to swing that. But Max Chapman is the one who wins the Cy Young here. 2025 Oklahoma State starter. He took them. He was their 6th round pick, or 6th overall pick rather, in 2023. And extreme fly ball, definitely not my type of guy, but I mean, high control, high stuffed. 2 elite pitches and then like 2 average pitches. It's very odd that he was able to put up a season that good, but I mean, hey, good for him. Max Chapman, single-digit pitcher, is able to pick up the Cy Young Award. Well, if you take a look at the American League, it is Spencer Arrighetti, one of the Cleveland guys, because of course Cleveland has another guy who they picked up from Houston, and they have another guy who's a good pitcher, elite curveball, elite stuff essentially. They've also got Cantillo on here as well. I mean, just Cleveland, they know how to pitch. And they got Cody Morris on here in their bullpen. I mean, those guys can pitch. Alrighty, it is November 20th. The guys that we offered arbitration have received their arbitration, and we are ready to try to improve our team here. And I don't feel like we have too much money tied up in people. We do have Ketel Marte for this upcoming season. 1 more guaranteed season after that, and then he has a team option in 2028. With the way he's been going, I mean, if he continues to drop off like this, you know, I doubt we pick up that team option. We'll just have to see. We're kind of a bit iffy with him in a second, but we will go more in on that in a bit here. Pablo Lopez, we have him for 1 more year, and then he's a team option in 27. If he keeps pitching like he has for us, then, I mean, we're obviously not going to pick up that team option. Alec Thomas, obviously, we have him signed through 2031. Well, 2030 with 2031 being a team option. Ideally, I'd like to see him put up numbers like this offensively and not numbers like this offensively. So hopefully this year he turns things around at the plate. While Patrick Sandoval, we have him signed through 2028 at $6.6 million. I thought he'd be much better, but he really has not been that great for us. 2 seasons with about an 80 ERA plus both years. Obviously, we'd like to see better than that. But aside from that, really not much money tied up in any of these guys. We just have, you know, a not great budget because we're the Arizona Diamondbacks. But like I mentioned, a bit of an issue with Ketel Marte here is that since we traded for Josue Cruz here, who is definitely going to be our DH this season, I'm expecting big things at the plate from him. Obviously, can't really play anywhere else. I mean, even if we did put him in the corner, we would have to move Carroll or Thomas to center, and I do not want to do that. Pache is our center fielder. I think we're going to take the hit at shortstop this year because Jordan Lawler is the one who, I mean, he came up as a shortstop. He's got a 55 rating at shortstop. OSA thinks he's got a 55 rating, although that is low. But I mean, he didn't put up a good zone rating at shortstop last season. But I mean, he's the best we got right now, aside from playing Rodriguez, which I'm fine with playing Rodriguez there. The thing is, if we play Rodriguez there, Lawler would move to third. Ketel Marte is ideally our second baseman here because he is, our fucking second round pick in 2022. So we would like to see him actually play. So it just comes down to who I would rather have at third base between Tamar Johnson, who has the 65 error and 60 turn double play. I think OSA I think he has a little bit less range, but I mean, he's fine at second base. I'd rather have him at second than third. Doesn't have the greatest arm, while Marte doesn't have the greatest arm either, but he's lesser at second base aside from the range. And he is a guy who has committed a decent amount of errors here. We take a look at his fielding stats at second. Last year he played some left field too while somebody else was hurt, but I mean, he was not good at second. He was okay the year before. 2023, he was okay. 2022, he was not great, but he committed a lot of errors. While Tamar Johnson also was not great at second base. We take a look at his fielding stats. Had a negative 4 ZR in the big leagues. We take a look at his career. I guess it doesn't save it from the minors. But I mean, yeah, it wasn't like he was good defensively in the minors either, but he also wasn't committing really any errors. He just wasn't getting to a lot of balls. He just, I'd rather have a guy not commit errors than a guy who might be able to get to a couple extra balls, but not even really that much, like that rangy at second base, and commit more errors. So Tamar Johnson, no errors. Marte, a lot of errors. Hope that makes sense. And I also just feel like Marte has got more pop. Obviously only hit 13 home runs the past 2 seasons, but I just feel like he has more pop in general than Tamar does. So we're going to have him on the corner instead of Tamar. Obviously he can't play there right now, but we are going to be force starting him there through preseason, through spring training, and hoping that he's able to pick it up quickly enough to play third base, because ideally this is what we rock with the infield. I mean, I could try to play like Marte at first base if I wanted to. I could try to play Marte at first, Lawler at third, and then Rodriguez would be the one who plays short for us, like I was saying. But, I mean, I just want De Los Santos. I want to give De Los Santos a shot here. He deserves to have another full season here. Obviously, he was around league average with 22 home runs, but he was starting to put things on here as the season came to an end. Was very good in July, goodish in August, and then kind of fell off with everybody in September. But, I mean, I feel like he's a guy who deserves another shot at first base here, so we're going to be giving that to him. So when it comes to the hitting, I feel like we've done enough to improve our hitting. I feel like our catcher is going to be solid this year. I feel like Cruz is going to add a decent amount of pop. As long as Tamar performs like my scout thinks he's going to perform, and as you would think he would perform for us here in the big leagues, and maybe Lawler puts around a league average season, Carroll and Thomas perform better than they did last year. As long as our guys that you would think would perform well actually perform well, combined with our pitching, which is the thing that we might want to improve on this season, I feel like we'd be a good team. It's just a matter of both those things coming together and clicking at the same time. But as you can see with the pitching, I feel like our bullpen is always set. We never have any trouble building a bullpen. Building a bullpen is super easy. I could build a bullpen in my sleep in this game. The tricky thing is going to be building an actual good rotation. You can see I've got pitch counts on these guys to help limit injuries and just not work too deep into games and just basically go like full raids. We're not trying to get these guys deep into games. We're not trying to go 2 times through the order. We're just trying to go, or 3 times through the order. We're just trying to go 2 through and then get them out of there, bring in the bullpen, and just let our nasty arms go to work at max effort. But even with these starters right now, probably only like 3 of these guys I ideally want in the rotation. Ideally, Stefan, I just don't like the movement. I feel like he could be a starter, but would he really be anything other than like slightly below league average or league average? Probably not. So like Stefan probably stays in the bullpen. Jay Groom, sort of same thing. Like he could be a starter. Maybe I give him another shot as a starter. He was fine in 2024. I can't look at the splits between those 2 years, but I mean, he was fine in 2024. But once again, he's more like a fifth guy. He's not like a middle of the order, middle of the rotation sort of pitcher. And basically, that's already what we have, is a lot of, like, number threes. Sandoval has been pitching like a 4 or 5. Lopez has been pitching like a 4 or 5. Ideally, he pitches like he's actually supposed to be pitching. Elvis, my sked doesn't think too high of him, but he has been solid for us here or he was solid for us last year, I guess. Maybe a little bit less below league average. I mean, I feel like he was fine, but I mean, he's 23. Ideally, we run him in the rotation, at least give him another shot. But I mean, maybe adding a starter or two, that's really what we're trying to add here to our team. We've got guys like Brandon Pfaadt who could be a starter for us. I mean, I like the control, like the 3 good pitches. I don't like the stuff or movement, but I mean, who knows? Maybe he's a guy who overperforms his ratings. He has been good in the minors. He's been good in the bullpen for us occasionally, but wasn't good in 2024, and then didn't really get too much of a shot in the big leagues for us. We picked up Bryce Elder off the waiver wire, although he was not great for us coming over. I think he was good in the bullpen. Yes, he was good in the bullpen, but he wasn't good as a starter. I guess he was fine. No, that's mixed stats in the majors. Yeah, bad as a starter in 3 starts, good as a reliever, but that's still only 3 starts. But even with that, I mean, do we really want to roll the dice on Bryce Elder? Suddenly figuring things out with only 2 good pitches here? Or we could go at somebody who we just picked up, or there's even Kenny Hernandez, who is a guy who has 3 good pitches, has around league average stuff, slightly above league average movement, good control. 2 good pitches, 1 really good pitch, ground baller. I like those guys. He's definitely a guy who's been good in the AAA, so maybe we give him a shot in the rotation. So, like, maybe Hernandez comes in here, Groom goes to the bullpen, and then maybe one of, like, DL Hall goes into the rotation. He could definitely be a good rotation piece for us, I feel like. Or Mackenzie Gore, who's probably more of a bullpen arm. I'd probably prefer him in the bullpen. Let's see what his stuff drops down to as a starter. Yeah, I mean, I'm not interested in that kind of stuff as a starter, so he's probably just going to stay in the bullpen. While DL Hall here, very, very good stuff as a starter, or as a reliever, but if we move into a starter, I mean, the stuff barely drops down. He still has 3 really good pitches, 2 basically elite ones, good stuff and movement. I feel like he'd be the one that I would want to put in the rotation. So, I mean, could we have success with these 2 guys on pitch limits as well as this 5-man rotation? Maybe if they all pitch to where they're actually capable of pitching to, but ideally we would add 1 or 2 arms to our staff to actually solidify this staff, because I feel like, or not even to feel, I know that this is not a good enough pitching staff to compete as it is right now. And right off the bat, I'm seeing, obviously, there's Zach Young. We're not going to bring him back. He, wasn't very... I mean, his ratings are, like, very good across the board, but I mean, he was never that great for us, I would say. Maybe Jack Flaherty. He's a little bit less expensive than Gallen, same age. Fly ball pitcher, don't like that, but I mean, he's got good enough ratings. He hasn't been great. He's basically been Gallen. I mean, his numbers aren't that great here. Like a slightly below 2 WAR guy in 2025. He wasn't good at all. Last year, it looks like he was hurt, but he was good in those innings. Adrian Morjan, however you say this guy's name. I know who he is, I just don't know how to say his name. 2 very good pitches. I mean, could he be a decent starter? Definitely seems like it. I mean, he's been good for the Padres. He had 2 3-WAR seasons and then kind of fell off this year. So we could try to possibly bring him on as a 26-year-old, almost 27, on a cheapish deal and see if he's able to figure things out with us. I'm not opposed to that. And of course, Severino got hurt with the Pirates, so now he's here cheap again at $5 million. He tore his rotator cuff with the Pirates, pitched 2 games for them, was very good, but tore his rotator cuff when pitching for the Pirates, because of course he did. I also see that Tyler Chatwood is here again at a very cheap deal. This was not what he was asking for I don't think I was able to re-sign him here if we take a look. Yeah, I mean, we could easily bring him back on like a cheap deal, but I mean, do we really want to roll the dice on a 36-year-old extreme ground ball guy who is, good for us, but I mean, is it really repeatable? and he's probably similar to a lot of the other guys that we have. So I think we are going to go ahead and offer Adrian Morjan here, the lefty with the 2 good fastball curveball combo and then some good slider splitter as backup pitches. If we can just tap into what he did in 2023 and 2024, I would absolutely love that. He's going to be on a pitch limit, so maybe that helps with the fragileness here. 96 innings last year. And he wasn't bad. It was just he was hurt. So, maybe if he's healthy for a full season, he's, used, not stretched out a ton, maybe he's able to put up 2 seasons like this for us. So we're going to see what he is interested. I mean, I will absolutely. He's going to be 27 by the time the season starts. So 27, 28, 29. We'll maybe make this year like a team option and say, I don't know, dump this down like $1 million, dump this down $1 million, maybe that to that. And boom, let's see if he's interested in this. He is. He absolutely is. So we are going to offer Morjan this deal. And boom, that's what we're offering him. We could also go really buy low here on Adbert Alzolay, who pretty average across the board. It doesn't seem like he's been too good with the Cubs. Take a look at the major league numbers. He put up like some 2-WAR seasons for them in 2022 and 2023. He was fine. 2024 he was fine, and then last year just kind of not so great. Or I guess he was fine at the ERA, but he was definitely lesser. But I mean, who knows? Maybe we can just buy super low on this guy and get something decent out of him. The thing is, though, if we bring on somebody like Alzolay, is he really going to perform better than like a DL Hall or somebody we have in our rotation? I mean, obviously you need depth. But I mean, we have depth. I mean, we have all guys who are like around this rating. Like, it's not like if we lose Kenny Hernandez, we have another guy who's like not the same level as Kenny Hernandez. We could put Stefan or Groom in the rotation, or even Gore, or Brandon Pfaadt, or Jonah Doan, or Cavalli, or Walston. Even give Christopher Sanchez a shot as a starter, possibly, even though he expects to be a bullpen. He's been elite as a stopper for us, so I feel like we're going to keep him in that role. But I mean, still, we have guys who can take over and be like this 4 or 5 level of starter. So do we really? I mean, if we look at AAA, even we've got somebody like Slade, who's been solid, has been boosting up his ratings. He had a not great year in AAA last year, but I mean, good enough to where my scat thinks he could pitch. I mean, is Alzolay really better than him? No. Chase Dolander, he's a guy who could come up and probably pitch about that level. Josh Fleming even could come up and pitch about that level. Alex Galvan, probably more of a reliever, definitely not a starter, I would say. Lister Sosa, he's a guy who could come up and pitch at that level, absolutely. Even some of the guys that we have in the bullpen in AAA could probably start for us, like Michael Flores could possibly be a decent starter. He started in AA, he's 23. Somebody like Connor Graham's here. 2 really good pitches, a good changeup. Extreme fly ball, don't like that. A bit wild, but I mean, he's a guy who could come in and pitch innings. Even somebody like Tommy Henry even could possibly give us some innings. Has definitely fallen off a bit here. We might not keep him around, though. Maybe scratch Tommy Henry. Because we do need to clear up spots in AAA and AA, and Tommy Henry is definitely a guy who might be on the odd man out. Same with Tyler Holton. He's fine, but I mean, do we really need him? Probably not. So basically, all we would do by adding Alzolay is just adding more guys like this to the organization, and we're already like stacked with guys like that. We're trying to get rid of them. We've even got somebody like Rincon, who I would possibly try to start with that stamina. And I mean, he's a guy who my scat thinks is going to be really solid. He's in AAA this year after a decent year in AA last year. Maybe he ends up being decent for us. Rigney is in AAA right now. Probably not too good, but I mean, he's an option. Luis Tejada as well. He's definitely more of a bullpen guy, but I mean, he's an arm around that level. Somebody like Daniel Lloyd, another bullpen guy, but he's around that level. And then even in AA, very easily somebody like Capochi could put things together, and he's at that level. Or somebody like Brady Fuller could put things together, and he's at that level. He's basically already at that level, and he's going to probably start in Double A here because he wasn't that great, but he could very easily end up in the big leagues or Triple A at some point this season. Somebody like Trenton Shaw, who was our second-round pick this past season, was very good in High A. We have him in Double A to start the year, but he is absolutely a guy who could come up and be in our big league rotation this season. And he's somebody who could be much more than just a number 4 or 5. He's somebody who could be even better. So, I mean, we don't have to go out and sign like these depth of 4A, AAA level pitchers. So we are actually going to go out and get a bench bat here. If you take a look at our what we have in our big leagues right now, so what a possible team could look like is something like our fourth outfielder would maybe be like Tim Tawa or maybe Reed Trimble. While the backup bench would probably be like somebody like Kasevich or Sean McClain. So maybe like the backup players for us this season would be like Perry or Soto as the backup catcher, and then if we carry 3 backups, probably like Soto, Kasevich, possibly, or, Soto, one of McClain, Kasevich, and then like Tawa as the fourth outfielder. And those would be our 3 bench guys, like Soto, one of these 2 guys, and then Tawa. Or if we go with a fourth, it'd probably be Tawa, and then these 2 guys as infielders. But one thing you may notice from both of these guys is that none of these guys, aside from Soto, is a left-handed bat. And I'd rather have another lefty bat off the bench here. Maybe they end up being a starter at some point. Maybe maybe they're just a utility bat we have on the bench here. And we have in free agency, if I can go back into here, and look at somebody like Ji-Man Choi possibly. Only wants like 2.4. We could probably dock that down a bit. Good eye, good power. But the thing about him is that, yes, he's the lefty bat. He's been historically a decent bat here. Take a look at the major leagues. Above league average bat there. Wasn't too great in 2024, but I mean, historically a very above average league bat with some pop to him. Good platoon guy to have. But the thing about him is he's only a first baseman. And I kind of want to get away from having only first baseman on the bench. But I also see that also Josh Rojas wanting 7.25 mil, LOL. I thought about Nick Senzel, but he's a righty. He's got some decent ratings. Maybe we could bring him on as a fourth outfielder as well, but right now, not really something I'm interested in doing. The guy that I am interested in is, where the hell did he go? Here we go. Cavan Biggio. Currently on the shelf with a broken bone in his elbow, but I mean, he'll be ready for the season. He is fine. Only wants like 2 mil. We could probably drop that down a bit. He hasn't been a guy who's been very good in the big leagues here. 89 WRC plus, 85. Not a great batting season the past 2 years in Seattle as like a starter, it looks like. But he was walking a decent amount, not striking out a pretty hefty amount, but it wasn't 30 like it was when he was in Toronto. And, he's a guy who can hit a decent amount of home runs. He's gotten 12 in 2022, 21 in 2023, and then he had 13. Only 7 last year, dropped down. But, I mean, he's a guy who's got some skills here. We take a look at his profile page, has some pop, has some discipline, can run the bases really well. That's always useful to have on the bench. Decent defender at multiple different positions, including first, second, third, left, right. And I think he's just a useful guy to have, useful player. And if we take a look at, his personality, he is a captain, which you always love to have on your team. High work ethic, high intelligence, high leader, high loyalty. Absolutely a bench type of player we would want on a team here. So I am going to offer a contract. I'm going to not even mess around with the minor league option. See if we can drop this down to like 2.2 maybe. Boom, 2.2. Cavan Biggio. Alrighty, so we do end up getting Adrian Morejon, the left-handed pitcher from the Padres, who has put up multiple 3-WAR seasons in the past. Fell off a little bit last year, so we're hoping that he's going to be able to come here and be a very good pitcher for us. We are going to go out and do a bit of a wacky trade here of a guy who was on the trade block that I saw. Raisel Iglesias, for whatever reason, is on the trade block. I mean, he had a down year last year, but I mean, if we take a look at his, first of all, take a look at his ratings: 70 stuff, 70 control, 75 fastball, 70 slider, 70 changeup. Obviously, the movement's not great, but I mean, this stuff very much makes up for it. Extreme fly ball, don't like that, but I mean, he is 35, almost 36, veteran reliever. We get him his age 36 season at 3.8, as well as his age 37 season at 3.8. He's promised the closer role. Is he going to be unhappy if he doesn't get the closer role? Sure. But I mean, he's not going to be our stopper. I don't think he has the stamina to be the stopper. Yeah, definitely not a stopper. But I mean, absolutely a guy who can help our bullpen here. Just be a shutdown reliever for us. Just be, if we take a look at his ratings here, strikes at a ton of guys every single season. Doesn't walk a ton of guys either. The home run number, fluctuates. But I mean, he could very easily just put up a season like this with a 1.4 or even a 1.8, and as long as it's not a 2.1 home run per nine, he's back to being a very solid reliever. I mean, he wasn't even that bad last year, around league average. I feel like this is definitely something we are going to be doing here. Easy way to upgrade the bullpen and get a guy in a cheap deal here. So Raisel Iglesias is going to come into our team. Boom. All we have to do is give up Christian Robinson. The fan interest increases. Christian Robinson has been in AAA for us, basically as a bench player. Been fine, but I mean, he's never going to play for us. The only downside to this is we currently have a full 40-man roster, and the entire reason I was looking to make a trade was to open up a spot in the 40-man roster. So now we have Morjan and Iglesias both waiting to go on the roster here. We're going to have to open up spots for them and open up a spot for Cavan Biggio if his signing goes through. So that is what we were going to do. We are going to waive and DFA Omar Hernandez. He is going to hopefully pass through waivers, go down to AAA. That's going to open up a spot for Morjan on the 40-man, as well as obviously the 26-man. And then I'm thinking Brandon Pfaadt is the odd man out here. He could be a decent starter if we take a look at his stuff as a reliever. And it does jump up a bit. He's extreme fly ball. He might get claimed, though, so I'm not really sure that I want to waive him. The thing is, we already have so many guys in the system who are about that level. Like, we've got Costio here. We've got Steven Cruz, who should be even better than him. Barrett Lasky is on our 40-man. Luke Murphy should be coming back at some point this season. Blake Walston, obviously. Clicked on Blake Walston again. Weissenberger is here as well. If we take a look at the overview and some of these Rule 5 guys that we're going to have to protect, Lloyd is basically that level of reliever. Clicked on Lloyd again. Rincon, who I'm going to want to add to the 40-man to protect, is that level essentially. Tejada as well is that level. So I just feel like we can get rid of Brandon Pfaadt. He doesn't really have any trade value, so we are just going to waive and DFA Brandon Pfaadt here to open up a spot. And we're going to have to waive and DFA some other guys to open up some spots, at least for somebody like Rincon, who could possibly be a decent starter for us down the line. If we take a look at his... Maybe not. Maybe more of a reliever. I mean, the potential is only 40 when it's a starter, but I mean, still thinks that he could be a very solid across the board. Alrighty, so we do end up getting Cavan Biggio on the 1-year, $2.2 million deal. Players appreciate the new leadership as well. It's just the only thing is we need to open up a spot on the 40-man roster for him. We are going to be waiving and DFAing Josh Young, just because he's sort of like the odd man out. I thought about Escato here, but he's a guy who's been very good in AAA last season, and he was even pretty good in the time that he was up in the big leagues. Obviously, I mean, 8 home runs in like 26 games. Pretty nuts. Obviously a huge strikeout percentage, but I mean, still was a small sample size. But I just don't want to waive and DFA him, and I don't really care too much about Josh Young right now. But I doubt also he would get claimed, so he's just going to go through waivers and hopefully pass down to AAA. While Cavan Biggio is now going to be on our big league team. Alrighty, so this offseason has taken me like a week to get through because I did like a little bit of it and then I had like a sinus thing pop up and I couldn't put thoughts together. I couldn't think very well. I was just I was out of it for a few days with the whole sinus thing, so I just kind of just chilled out for a few days. So now we're going to jump back in here and try to figure out where I even left off. I do have a little bit of an idea because obviously I did look through the recordings and also I do take notes. I don't just go in cold turkey every time. So just a couple more notes about what our roster is looking like here right now. Obviously, we are still in late December, so we still have some things that we can do here. But I feel like one thing we really need to do is add more pop to our lineup, get a big thumper of a bat in here, and we did that with Josue Cruz here, who should be a guy who comes in and just hits a lot of home runs for us, just all around a very good hitter as our DH. You would think he would be able to do that, and we are hoping that he is able to do that. Tamar Johnson, maybe the power tool develops, maybe it doesn't, but I mean, even that elite contact, he's going to be a good second baseman for us. Ketel Marte, hopefully, is a guy who picks up some more home runs for us this season. De Los Santos, maybe he puts together a better campaign, improves upon his rookie season, and maybe hits more home runs, is more effective of a hitter in general. Hopefully Carroll and Thomas figure things out so they're not putting up seasons like they were last year. Obviously Pache is Pache. He's in there to be a bad bat and play defense. The thing that I'm really not very sold on, I should say, is Jordan Lawler at shortstop. Because, I mean, we know he's not a shortstop. I mean, we are just going into this season knowing that he's not going to be a good shortstop for us. And, I mean, that's obviously not ideal because he did put up the bad numbers last season. 8 games doesn't really matter. But, yeah, not a good defender for us last year. But, I mean, we just don't really have any other space for him. It's not like we can, if we move him to third, then where's Marte going to play? We got Tamar Johnson a second. We got the DH spot taken up. I mean, we could try to trade somebody Marte's 32. He's got a few years left in his contract, but it's really only just this upcoming season, one more year, and then a team opt-out. So, I mean, like, we could try to trade him, but, I mean, do we really want to? And roll the dice on that we're going to be able to replace his bat? Because, I mean, he's still a productive player. He has been going down. But, I mean, even if he puts up a 2 WAR, he's still a productive player. So I'm kind of not trying to trade him. Also, it'd be tough to trade him with what his contract looks like. But, I mean, that's really the only thing I can think of is trading Marte, having Lawler play third, and then Kasevich remains the backup. But we have somebody who we go out and get to play shortstop instead of Lawler, because that is a position that you ideally like to have somebody who can, is better than a 55 even. That's Marte. What am I saying? Is better than a 60 range. So ideally, you got better than that. He is a 55, so he's not the worst shortstop of all time. I might look around a bit at trying to swing some trades, but right now I'm thinking this is probably what we're going to go into the season with. The one thing that is going to be an issue, though, is that we have a lot of guys who are available in the Rule 5 that I would like to keep on our 40-man roster, but we have pretty much the whole 40-man roster is filled up here. I mean, there aren't really any guys who jump out as me as people we want to get off the 40-man roster here. So, I mean, if we did make a trade, it would be to make room to put somebody on the 40-man. Somebody like Luis Tejada, who is, probably just a bullpen arm, but I mean, could he be a guy that gets taken in the Rule 5? Absolutely. Somebody like Rincon absolutely could get taken in the Rule 5. Maybe we try to trade him for something. He is a decent prospect, so maybe we try to take advantage of his prospect ranking and the fact that he's probably just going to end up being a reliever. So maybe we try to take advantage of his ranking and get something for him. Daniel Lloyd is another guy who's definitely just a reliever, but I mean, he's a guy who I would probably like to have on the 40-man. So those are guys who are possibly going to get taken here in the Rule 5 draft. Even somebody like Andrew Marrero is somebody. So there are multiple players that I'm interested in when I go and shop Hansel Rincon. He is this guy that my scout thinks is going to be pretty decent. 35 stamina is, I'd say, on the borderline of somebody who you want to, really be forcing to be a starter. With the way we're going to be using starters with the pitch counts, we could probably make him work. But, I mean, do I really want to try to see if he's actually going to pan out? He's 23 in AAA this season. I mean, he could be somebody, or we could get somebody who could help us right now. Somebody like Byron Buxton, possibly. Obviously, elite defensive center fielder coming off his worst season. But, I mean, he is a guy who has put up some pretty bonkers seasons here. couple 5 wars, 3.8 this year. Last year was obviously down, but I mean, he's definitely capable of bouncing back. He's only 32, so he's not super old. He is fragile, but he's been, playing a lot of games every single season, so it doesn't seem like injuries have been too much of an issue for him, and he is obviously an upgrade on Pache. So, I mean, we would have suddenly a really good outfield if we pick him up, add him to our team with the really good base running, really good defense. I mean, his ZR did go down to 4.2 last year, so maybe not as good defensively as he once was, but I mean, still, he is Byron Buxton. He is signed for 3 seasons, so the thing is, if I pick him up, I'm probably also trying to trade Ketel Marte and find somebody who can actually either play short or third, depending on what we do with Lawler if we trade Marte. Because I don't really want to have Buxton and Marte on the books with a team like the D-backs where we're already kind of cash-strapped here. Maybe not the most cash-strapped, but I mean, if we add somebody like Buxton's deal to our books here, it's basically just this contract except without the team option. It's just these years guaranteed. So, I mean, could we add that to our books? Yeah. But, I mean, do I really want to? Maybe. I don't know. It depends. If I pull the trigger on this, we'll have to see. But Buxton's an interesting one. And then the other one is from the Phillies here. You scroll down, they're actually offering an 80-grade closer who I'm not really interested in unless I can, pair him onto the deal as well. But, I mean, even then, probably not. From Delaware, that is wild. A real guy from University of Delaware. I did not realize that they had a program like that. I know they have had Chad Kuhl and my guy Ron Marinaccio come through there, but I did not realize that they had a guy like this caliber. Unless this guy just kind of came out of nowhere. It looks like I guess he just kind of came out of nowhere. 28th round pick in 2017. Yeah, that is pretty nuts. Like I said, he is not the one that I'm interested in. The one that I'm interested in is Juan Guerra here. I'm assuming he's a fake guy. Yeah, he's definitely a fake guy. Came into the offseason here as one of the international free agents who comes in during the offseason. They signed him to a 5-year deal. I mean, he's a bit older. He's 34. He's almost 35, so he would definitely be primed to start dropping off here. But, I mean, he has been phenomenal at the plate in 3 seasons here, putting up very, very good seasons. He is currently, that's not what I, contract, yes. He is currently signed for this season, and then next year is a team option. So, I mean, we would ideally be accepting that team option, but it would come down to, do we want to really bring him back after this season? He's a leader, high work ethic, intelligence guy. He'd be our center fielder. The thing is, would he be a center fielder after 1 season with us? He's already not the best center fielder. He's probably better off being a catcher, or not catcher, what am I saying, a corner outfielder. But he's an option, and if we pick him up, perhaps we can also persuade them to, can I just thumb back here? Here we go. We can also persuade them to give us Bryson Stott to possibly play third base for us. That could be an option as well. I'm kind of leaning Buxton here just because he's better defensively and he's a little bit younger. Guerra's been better at the plate, but I mean, Guerra could very, very, very easily just put up a season like this. Where Buxton, we're hoping that he rebounds, but he also could put up a season like this, but he's probably going to be better defensively. But I mean, do we really want to pay just a Christian Pache? We could trade for him and he could end up just being Christian Pache, which is, something we're trying to avoid here. But I mean, this Guerra guy is just, I mean, it's just, he's so good. He's such a good power. He's got 33 home runs last year, 31 home runs his first year, swipes bags, gets on base, hits doubles. I mean, he does it all without even being a good defender, too. So, I mean, I don't know. Should we pull the trigger on this guy, or would we prefer Buxton? This guy, like I said, only a little bit cheaper, a little bit older, probably more. He's 3 years older than Buxton, so probably more than a little bit older. So we would be able to swing a deal here for where it's Rincon and Stefan, who is obviously a solid reliever for us, but I mean, he's probably just that, a reliever. He has this year and then one more year of team control left on him. I'm not sure why I'm going that page like it shows that, but he has one more year of team control after this season. So, I mean, he's 30. You know, he's somebody we could get rid of, open up a spot in the 40-man for one of these guys. Rincon, obviously, is the main deal here. Do we really want to give up Rincon? Guerra, the thing is, I'm not totally sold on him, and our money would also drop to our available money would drop to a total of 3.9 million. Which remember, this budget number that we have set right here is not including the draft budget, international amateur. So I mean, we would be, you know, whatever this number for this season is would be what we go into the draft and international free agents with in the upcoming season. So, you know, wouldn't be great if we're going into both of those with like 3 million to spend. There's another possible interesting trade we can do, which is a star swap in the name of like a Prince Fielder, Ian Kinsler type thing, where we trade Ketel Marte to the Orioles for Cedric Mullins. So, as we know, Ketel Marte starting to fall off here. You know, slightly above average hitter last year, only a 2 WAR. He's dropping. You know, he's been going down every year, or I guess he jumped from 22 to 2023. But I mean, he's putting up pretty similar years the past 2 years here. He's dropping. You know, he's 32. You know, do we really need a second baseman who can't really field? We're going to try him at third this year. Going to be out of position. Do we really want to do that? You know, kind of the odd man out with the positions. So we could trade him to Baltimore. They give us Cedric Mullins, who is a bit more expensive at $27.6 million. A fair bit more expensive, to be fair. But I mean, 2 years of Cedric Mullins at age 31 and 32. He is coming off of just really, really good years. 2023, not so good at the bat, around league average, but still hit 20 home runs, swiped 40 bags. But 2022, very good. 2024 and 2025, both 5, almost 6 WAR seasons. Also, 9 zone rating last year. Take a look at his career zone rating. I mean, he's just been a stud in center field. We could use that. That is an extremely, extremely valuable player. I'm kind of interested in this because we are probably not going to be accepting this option anyway. So, I mean, we're basically just trading 2 years of Marte for 2 years of Mullins to fill in a position where right now we have Christian Pache. And this also allows us to get the ability to open up that third base spot or shortstop spot, move Lawler to third, keep Lawler at short, pick up a third baseman, maybe trade Rincon for like a stud shortstop third baseman type guy. And of course, the Orioles have Drew Jones just primed to take over at center field, so it's not like they're going to miss him too much. Cedric Mullins, that is. Now, I'm sure we could mess around and try to get like some, you know, like 40 potential prospects from them with this trade too, but I mean, we're not really trying to do that. So I think I'm going to do this. We are going to trade Ketel Marte to the Orioles, and we're going to get Cedric Mullins back to play center field for us. We're doing it. Boom. I just did it. Can't turn it back now. Ketel Marte is now a member of our team here. Fan increase is amazing. We get the leadership too. Let's see how it goes. Alrighty, so what our lineups look like right now is like this against righties and like this against lefties. Basically the same thing, except for Mullins now takes over as center. Pache becomes the backup center fielder while Biggio's the backup corner guy. And then same for lefties, where instead of having Tawa all in here, it's Pache and Biggio still. Means Tawa is going to go down to AAA, but I mean, he's always an option to come back up if somebody gets hurt. This means that we have the shortstop position open. Now, we could go with Alfredo Rodriguez, just run him there and see if he's able to be a solid major league shortstop for us. We can get a stop holder, which could be Rodriguez, or we could go out and trade for somebody until Mendez here is ready. He's going to start in Double-A, but I mean, he could very well be in the major leagues at some point this season or next season. He could be the long-term shortstop for us if we just want to have an absolute stud defender there. Our AAA shortstops are guys like Juan Cornel, who, you know, could slot in to play short. or somebody like Warner Blakely, who's not really any better than Lawler. We'd probably just be better off playing Lawler there. So, you know, could we play Lawler there? Sure, if we pick up a third baseman. Could I go out and look for a shortstop? Yes. Or we could play Rodriguez. We'll have to see here. I'm going to see if I can maybe string together some deals here, possibly pick somebody up. All right, so one thing that we could do here is, since we have acquired Mullins, Pache being this backup center fielder role, I don't think I want to do 2 years of that. We did that last year with him and Taylor. Pache's kind of useless if he's just kind of like a backup fourth outfielder guy. We have guys who could come in and play center field if Mullins gets hurt. If that disaster happens and Mullins gets hurt, we need a guy who can just be a all-out menace defensively in center field. We don't have to rely on Pache, so we could possibly try to trade him and get a shortstop or a third baseman with his trade value, maybe package a prospect on top of it. Because, I mean, like, right now in AAA, we've got somebody like Bussy here, who we drafted in 2023. He's the guy who could play center field. Jaquan Smith is probably the main option, though. Very good speed, very good defender. He is absolutely somebody who could come in and play center field if Mullins gets hurt. So we don't need Pache to be on our team as like a 45 OPS plus bat who just only plays defense. We could easily have this guy be that for us. And then even down in AAA, we've got somebody like, or AA rather, we got somebody like Christian Smith, who is probably the higher upside Jaquan, so he could also be our guy in the major leagues if we need that guy to be up in the big leagues. I'm not totally against the idea of Jordan Lawler playing shortstop for us this year and maybe moving to third base next season once Mendez in AA, who I've showed you a billion times now, is ready. Once this guy is ready to come into the big leagues, maybe next year he ends up being our shortstop and Lawler is himself the stopgap at short and he plays third once Mendez comes up. Because it is going to be harder to acquire a shortstop who's better than what we already have on the team right now. But acquiring a third baseman who can hit, that is something that is doable. I mean, we could always just play Biggio at third if we really wanted to. Or we could call up Rock Riggio. He could play third for us. Not the most ideal third baseman, but I mean, he can play there. He can play there, assuming that we force him to play there in spring training and he picks the position rather quickly. But I mean, his bat could slide in and be a solid player for us. Somebody like Abraham Toro is honestly not an option that I'm too against. Switch hitting, corner infielder, probably more of a first baseman than a third baseman, but I mean, I'm not against playing him at third base. He is a guy who has really just bounced all around, never really has had a spot to settle. Did get a decent amount of ABs in Atlanta in 2024, was really, really bad, was good in AAA. Atlanta last year was not so great in AAA. Maybe he just needs a chance. My scout thinks he could perform. OSA thinks he's even a better bat than my scout does, but obviously the scouting accuracy is much lower. I don't think I would want to trade these two guys in particular for Toro, but he's an option if we could possibly try to get him for somebody else. He's somebody to keep an eye on. Really, the main thing that I want to get in a third baseman is some more pop in the order. I don't want to just play somebody, we could easily go down into AAA and dip down into somebody like, or even just somebody currently on the roster up in the big leagues here. We could easily play somebody like Escato at third. Maybe we play him, honestly. Kind of forgot about him, to be honest. Maybe we give him the shot to keep running with that third base spot and see if he can keep doing that. So maybe he's our third baseman because he does have some pop. We could play Kasevich, maybe a little less pop. That's the thing, is I don't want to put in a guy who can't be a guy to add a few home runs to our team here. And Kasevich, more of a guy who doesn't strike out, make some contact, and then he has a power bat. But Escato, clicked on the wrong guy. But Escato, I'm not against that. Kind of totally forgot whether we had him. I'm not, the strikeout rate, obviously 37% in 100 plate appearances is, definitely inflated. He's not going to strike out 37% of the time, all the time. I'm pretty confident of that. But, I'm not against playing him at third. But like I say, we could dip into somebody on the team, like Biggio, Scotto, even McLean could, maybe not. The arm's not great. and also doesn't have much power. And that's the thing, is I would like to have somebody who has power to play third base for us. So Escato's looking like the option right now, if I'm totally honest. I would not mind having this be our infield this season. Alrighty, so it is the Rule 5 draft today, and basically the only guy we're going to protect from these guys here is, well, now I'm looking at it, Slade is a guy that I would like to protect. My scout thinks that he could end up being a pretty decent player for us. He is 26, halfway to 27. You know, hasn't really shown us much in AAA that he's useful. Would he get claimed? I mean, would he get taken in the Rule 5 draft? Maybe. Maybe not. But the one guy that I do know that I want to protect here is definitely Rincon, who is somebody who I might want to experiment with being a starter. Let's just see if we move him to starting pitcher. I mean, it drops down to 40 potential, but I mean, this stuff doesn't really move at all. So, yeah, it doesn't at all move. So maybe we try to give him some starter innings in like spring training or something, protect him on the 40-man. Who knows? Maybe he ends up cracking our Major League roster. Just with the way people are thinking of him, I feel like he's worth protecting because he is the 76th prospect. But I mean, maybe now that I've moved him to starting pitcher and his potential's only 40, he won't get taken. Because basically what I'm thinking is I'm going to DFA Lowski here, whatever his name is, who could be decent. He could even be a starter. Let's see what he would be. Yeah, 45. I mean, he could definitely start. So maybe we don't want to DFA him. The other guy I was thinking of was Weissenberger, who has the 80 grade slider, but I mean, he is just straight up just a bullpen piece, and he really hasn't performed well the past 2 seasons. But we are indeed going to put Rincon on the 40-man roster here because we want to protect him from the Rule 5 draft. So we have 40 guys, and also, so we're not going to be taking anybody in the Rule 5 here, but we did recently just get a message, the classic Vishnon hit me hard, famous guru message for Trevor Stephan. This could be really good, or it could be really bad. If he comes back and it says that he, you know, has other priorities, we're trading him. Immediately we're trading him. But if he comes back from India and he's like, I'm a changed man, I'm gonna be more focused than ever, we might give him a shot in the rotation. Alrighty, so we do end up not taking anybody in the Rule 5 draft, like I said, and we end up getting unscathed as nobody gets taken. So none of our guys that we were worried about losing we end up losing them in the Rule 5 draft. These are the only players who got taken. And, yeah. All right, so we are actually going to end up getting that Eric Jokic guy from the White Sox. That's who we're trading Pache for. I think we're going to roll with Escato at third base, get some value for Pache here now that he's kind of useless to us. And we get a guy who could slot into a rotation, hopefully immediately just continue what he's been doing here with the White Sox. If we take a look, 3 very solid seasons for them. Maybe he's able to continue doing that for us, hopefully so. And then we're also attaching a 28-year-old, almost 29-year-old pitcher who they have in AAA who's been okay, I guess. My scout likes him a decent amount. Maybe we're able to get something out of him. Just kind of a guy to have as depth who's not currently needed to get on the 40-man either. So these are who we're getting, these 2 players for Christian Pache, who's going to the Chicago White Sox. So now here's what the rotation could possibly look like. A lot of lefties this year. I'm fine with that. I feel like this is a pretty solid 1 to 5, and then Elvis will just move into the bullpen. If Stephan has the bad outcome with the guru in India, then we will move Elvis into Stephan's role and trade Stephan. But if he has the good outcome, then we will probably move Stephan to the rotation and maybe like drop Hernandez down to AAA again or something. All right, not great news. Trevor Stephan has indeed gotten the bad outcome when it comes to the guru. He has returned looking confused, and that life is not all about being the best. So Trevor Stephan, we are going to be getting rid of him here. Alrighty, so we are going to be shipping Trevor Stephan here to the Los Angeles Dodgers in return for a couple depth infielders, because Stephan, you know, he is a good reliever, but after all, he is just a reliever. So it doesn't really have too much trade value. We're not trying to block anybody else in our team. So we're just picking up a couple depth infielders. Jacob Amaya, decent leader, high work ethic guy, can play all around the infield. Has been good in AAA for them. Hasn't really played much in the big leagues. Maybe he turns out to be something for us. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's just depth. That's what we're getting him for anyways. And then the other guy is Cody Hosey, one of my favorite guys to follow in the college game the past few years. Went to Tulane, hit a lot of home runs there. Looks like he's been a very, very solid minor league player throughout the years for the Dodgers here. Ever since like 2023, he's been hitting very well in the minor leagues. So maybe he is starting to turn things around here, and who knows, maybe he'll be a decent first baseman or third baseman for us eventually. But that's obviously not what we're hoping for. But that's obviously not what we're expecting. We're just trying to get some depth infielders, and they get Stefan, who is going to have a bad season because he just got the horrible India guru thing. So Stefan to the Dodgers, and we indeed get the other guys. Alrighty, so we are here in the preseason, and as you can see, things have changed a little bit here as we are the Arizona Diamondbacks, but purple and teal as they used to be, or purple and turquoise, I guess, would be the appropriate color for that. We've gone in and modified the jerseys a bit. That's what our homes look like. That's what our aways look like. We actually even modified the number on the City Connects to be the purple, and then we've even got a purple away alternate. It's a bit harder to edit the jerseys now that they have the 3D jerseys, and you can't really use the online tool they used to have, but I did my best. So these are what we will be using here for the foreseeable future, because we now have the good Diamondbacks color scheme here, and we are not just black and red.